Hey, what's going on, loungers? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Mason T, and I am a 20+ year importer and product developer. But what that means is that I am a private labeler, not a reseller. However, it's because I'm a private labeler so that my worldviews on how to do eBay is very different than what most people are. And today we're going to put that to the test. And I'm going to show you a video that I've done about a week ago just to document the whole process of a subscriber coming to us for help. All right, guys, so as I said before, if you need help, don't hesitate to reach out. So we had one of our subscribers write to me, and then he was trying to tell me that, like, you know, he's recently been dedicating all of his energy to listing the rest of his dead stock and trying to get rid of, you know, some old listings and stuff like that. So I told him to go ahead and show me like 10 different items, and then maybe I would pick some and then try to help him out, right? And basically the idea of this is that maybe I could work my magic on making a better listing for him, and based on all of the edits and the changes that I made, he could adjust his whole store accordingly afterwards, right? So basically he's going to show me 10 items, and I'm going to look through them, and I'm going to pick a couple to see like which ones that I prefer to work with, because there are certain times where there's going to be items that might be dead in the water. So we're just going to go ahead and document that right now of what's happening here, right? So one of his items is this Ozark Trail hiking boots, and he sells it for $22.50 at $15. It's really not that important what the price is that he's selling it for. You just got to know that all of these items is what he is currently stuck with, and we got to do our best to try to get rid of this item to recoup as much of our money back as possible, because these are items that basically just didn't sell for a very long time. So this next one is like this Lane 8 men's relay trainer. Now keep in mind that I'm not a reseller, so I'm normally not used to working with items like this, but still, you know, when you are dealing with tangible goods online, there are still certain formats that you need to follow in order to make a good listing, right? You need both a an item that is in decent demand, that is SEO friendly at a reasonable price, plus you need to make a good listing. So it's a lot of elements that we have to put together in order to get rid of this. So the next one is this zebra yoga mat over here. I don't really like this item that much because they don't have one that's open, right? And you kind of just only have this one item here, and you don't have other photos of it, and you don't want to open this one just for the sake of selling it, because you know you just have one copy of this thing. So the next one is this sports bra, and then this sports bra, and then this sports bra. And I'm probably not going to work with either one of these three, mainly because he doesn't have any really flattering photos for any one of these, right? So then they become very difficult to sell, because, you know, you're selling it as a one-off seller, okay? This becomes very difficult to work with. The sunglasses, he's got this one, and then this shirt. I'm probably going to pass on this shirt too, because it's just super wrinkly, and again, it doesn't look flattering at all. So it's very difficult to say, you know, let's do some keywords, let's do some pricing, let's do some whatever, when the shirt itself, you know, it looks like an instant pass at a glance. You know what I mean? If the lighting for some of this stuff over here, like this one is very white, but then this one looks a little bit off-white. So when these photos are right next to each other, this is, you know, again, it's off-putting, even though the original tag over here is like $68, right? Yeah, maybe $68, you know, in retail Talbots in the mall, but like, you know, once it's out here, then the price is going to go way, way down. As far as his vintage sunglasses and stuff, this one says 2 sold, and then this one he hasn't sold any, but this one also says 1 sold. So this kind of tells me that, like, okay, this is an item that's taking a really long time to sell, and therefore just leave it alone, because probably more time goes by. Just, you know, it is what it is. He's only got quantity like 1 piece left. He's only got quantity 1 piece left over here. So, you know, we're probably not going to exert too much energy into that. So basically, this one I'm going to omit, this one omit, this one omit, and then we're going to forget about the sunglasses. The Talbots, you know, sleeveless over here, probably going to get rid of that one too, because, you know, the photos itself, it just make you not want to buy the item, if anything, right? While over here, this is it's not great, but it doesn't scream, you know, nightmare either, right? These are actually pretty decent photos for a one-off seller. It's not super professional, but you know, it's off of a white black background, right? And it's very clean. The same idea with this boot over here. But I do want to show you guys exactly, you know, how long this item has been around, right? So when I click on view all revisions over here, this has been around since October 2024. The trainers, the sneakers over here, this one has been around since July 2024. And then this one, the yoga mat, has been up for a while as well, right? So August 2024, right? So the sneakers in July, the yoga mat in August, and then the Ozark trail hiking boots since October, right? And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and rework these things. Basically, what I did is that I sent him an email back to ask him, could you tell me the stats behind these things, right? Meaning that in the past 30 days, how many views have you gotten on these items? Because that way I have a good idea of what the problem is, right? Is the problem basically because he's not getting any views, so there's something wrong with the listing, or he's just not getting any views at all, so you know, there's a visibility issue with the listing as opposed to having red flags in the listing. You know, this basically gives me my bearings on, you know, which direction to adjust it. So once he hits me back with that email and then I have that information, then I will try to fix these listings accordingly, and then we'll let you know exactly what happens later on. So if at any time you're also looking for help in any way, you can always come over to the Pegasus Lounge main page over here and then click on the More button, as well as the View email address over here. And then when you click on this, it'll ask you to confirm that you are not a robot, and then you will see my contact information over here so that you can leave us an email directly. All right, on to the show. I'm going to give you now a little bit of the back end process. I put together, this is on Google Docs, but of course on Google Docs, you could always transfer this out to a PDF form, and that's what I emailed over to him. So this is what I created, and this is all the Case Academy's like listings and the information and stuff. So basically what I'm showing here is that this was the original title and the original eBay listing that he had, right? Now, he wasn't supposed to end the listings and then start over again. Okay, I didn't expect that to happen. I was hoping that he would just revise the listing, but you know what? It works out better that way, right? Because honestly, then we get to see the difference in the view results because the view counter is now set back to 0. So originally the title was the Ozark Trail hiking boots and stuff like that. And I wanted to give a reason why I wanted to switch up the title. It is because it is essentially just a Walmart item, so it's very accessible everywhere. So rather than selling it as Ozark Trail, et cetera, right? Let's just make it like men's work boots, construction boot, because for this particular item, it is a very straightforward, run-of-the-mill, you know, yellow, brown top construction boot, right? So I just went with that because that way it generalizes the title to a much wider audience. On top of this, we're going to give it a more aggressive pricing strategy. So I changed this pricing strategy to what it was before with the $22 plus $15 shipping and handling over to our new strategy over here, which is $40 even with free shipping, as well as 12.5% promoted ad fee, okay? And this is the only way we're going to get more eyeballs on this. So the view counts of this thing was about 23 at the time, okay? So he had 23 views over the course of 30 days, right? So if we go check out what I did for him over here, I also included all this HTML work as well, okay? Because I think it's very important that we do some mobile-friendly HTML data for him. The thing is this, right? In the old days, there was, you know, websites like Octiva and then other types of template style, you know, auction stuff, right? That, you know, you plug in your item information and stuff like that, and then it'll create a nice looking listing for you. However, those were the old days. Now, a lot of people are shopping on mobile. In fact, you know, depending on your category, you could have as high as 47% of your customers actually shopping on mobile, all the way to 60% of your customers shopping on mobile. So having a mobile friendly HTML description or whatever is actually kind of important. But if we're going to do that, you got to be very mindful that people are on mobile. So when you make it, you want to make it as simple as possible, as straightforward as possible, cut all of the fluff and make it load very quickly. So I'm going to show you over here that this is his item now, right? And it says 23 viewed in the last 24 hours. So I helped him out last night at somewhere around 6 or 7 p.m. my time, right? Over in Pacific. And then this is right now, I'm recording this at 2 p.m. Okay. So, you know, add propagation time, add whatever. So not even 24 hours. Currently, this thing says 23 viewed in the last 24 hours. All right. And then what I wanted to show you is that this is the rework that I did for him, right? So if you saw, you know, before what his listing looked like, it was just regular, you know, just text and stuff like that. But now we changed it to this. Now, I'm going to say right now that this listing, the description is very plain and it doesn't even look very good, right? But if we hit F12 over here so that we switch over to the developer view, right? If you toggle this button, this will toggle between, you know, desktop view and then over to the mobile view. But sometimes when you toggle over, it messes up a little bit. So let me just hit refresh real quick. Okay, so we're back to this, right? Now, we're in the mobile view over here, and then over here on top, you could select like iPhone XE, XR, you know, iPhone 14 Pro Max, et cetera, et cetera. So I just have it left on iPhone 14 Pro Max, okay? And then from here, I think what we're going to do is that we're going to click see full description. And then when it pops up like this is what the listing looks like now. So it's very clean. You see what I'm saying? So men's tan construction work boots, and then, you know, sizes 11.5 and 12, you know, et cetera. And then over here, I put like, you know, the whole Ozark Trail or whatever, right? And then this is the boot from the side shot, the back shot, and then what the bottom looks like. So you don't want to do too many photos. You don't want to do too few photos either, right? Because you'll lose the customer that way. But too many photos is no good as well, you know, because of the load time. You see what I'm saying? So now we have some features and benefits. I give them just a couple of bullet points so that they're clean, they're clear to the point, as well as his his terms and conditions, right? So the returns, the shipping, the disclaimer of that, you know, there's still a lot of people out there that don't understand that there's no shipping or mail on Thursdays, on Sundays when it comes to USPS, you know what I mean? So you'd be surprised. So I left that in there for him as well. Okay, so the point is that like I reworked this whole, you know, listing for him, right? And now it says, oh, as we updated it right now, it went from 23 viewed in the past 24 hours to 25 views. And if I show you over here on the back end, he used to have 23 views for the whole 30 days. So now I just got him 25 views in the past less than 24 hours, okay? The next item that we're going to talk about is the trainers, right? The hibiscus red trainers and stuff. Okay, so originally his title was this one over here, and then I switched it over to this. So why did I do this? Because this is a value enhanced type of title. Different products, different strategies and stuff. Again, like, you know, people put out videos, right? But ultimately, a lot of the videos that we put out, it could only be general information. It could only be general suggestions. Without knowing you, without knowing your product, without knowing some of your back end and talking to you one-on-one, right? We can't provide true mentorship because it's just not tailored to your business, right? I don't know what the product is that you're talking about. But now I do get to know this. So now I can study this, and then I could think to myself, all right, this would be the better strategy to go with, right? So we changed it up so that it still says, you know, lane 8, you know, replay trainer, and then limited edition sneakers, hibiscus red, and then I put 150 MSRP new. Okay, so before, a lot of people would like to type in NWT, like new with tags. Like I remember he had one over here, right? When he did the yoga mat, he put NWT new with tags. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and say most people know what NWT is, but I'm also willing to bet that not 100% people know what NWT is, but 100% of people know what new means, right? There's no way you don't understand what new means. So I think it's better to use the word new than to use NWT, even though most people understand what NWT is. It's just new is a little bit better. You know what I mean? It cuts through the fluff straight to the point. Because if we're running on the full principle, right, of transparency in order to sell things better, which is the same idea of why we're doing free shipping. When you think about free shipping, right, why is that more transparent? Because people don't have to do the math in their head. So I get the full price. Is this the bottom price? Is this the final price that I'm going to pay? Of course, he's going to be paying, regular Uncle Sam taxes, but that's expected, right? That Uncle Sam gets all of us, right? That's completely different. But as far as the base price is concerned, there's no more hidden charges. There's no shipping on top of it. There's no anything else. I don't have to calculate funky numbers of $825 plus $37.50, et cetera, right? It's just going to be straight out flat $40, $50, $60. People like seeing those kinds of numbers, right? So in the old days of, the whole like $29.99, $39.99, you know what I mean? It's not as effective as it used to be, even though some people want to swear by it, but it's really not as effective as it used to be, right? If you were behind somebody, with your shopping cart and you asked your friend like, hey, how much is that over there, right? And the price said $9.99, right? Is he going to really say $9.99, or is he also going to say $10? And you would feel the exact same thing. People aren't really fooled by that as much anymore. I don't think so. So we just went with a straight $60 pricing strategy on this, right? So when you see what he had before, it was $54 plus $8.25 shipping, right? And then that comes out to $62.25. So we changed the pricing strategy now to $60 with 15% promoted ad and then also free ship. So it's clean, it's transparent, and then there's a lot of ad fee put into it. Now you're going to say, wow, Peg, that was really high ad fee, right? Absolutely, because this is an exit strategy that we're doing. This is not a fresh, brand new haul, okay? So keep that in mind. This guy, as I showed you before, he was stuck with this item, one in January, one in August, and one in October. So we're trying to recoup our losses here, get our money back, not have our money stuck in inventory anymore so that we could go out and do other things with it. We are losing so much money on opportunity costs by having our money stuck in this inventory that this is so much of a better idea to just go with this route instead. Get your money back. That's what's very, very important, so that you could do more things. You could be on to the next sale and the next sale and the next sale that could be profitable rather than just have your money sit there. Okay, so when you think of what's happening right here, right? A lot of people like to say, look, eBay is so greedy. They're already charging me so much on commissions or whatever based on my category, yada, yada, yada. And now I have to promote my item, so they're being even more greedy, et cetera, right? Okay, that is one worldview to look at stuff. I am a private labeler. I don't see the world that way, okay? Here's how I see it. Okay, so there's going to be something called a sponsored ad, right? And then this gives me a chance to partner with eBay. Because you know how people always say that, like, oh, if there's more tariffs, if there's more taxes, or if there's inflation or something like that, then sellers and other business people, they're just going to charge it back to the customer. Correct. You are absolutely correct. You are a seller. You are a business owner. Why are you not charging it back to the customer? And that is exactly the situation right now. So many times it is better to round up whatever your price is, right? If you're selling it at $55, maybe we should sell it at $60 instead of lowering the price, and then just added more promoted rate to it in order to get rid of this item. When you think of like different kinds of heat maps and Nielsen reports and stuff like that, I'll do a whole episode on that some other time, right? But the idea is that most people, I can't tell you if it's 55-45 or if it's 70-30, right? But the answer is that most people who are searching stuff and buying things with a purpose are buying things within the first page of stuff, okay? Sometimes the second page, few categories up to 3 pages, but most people experience shopper's fatigue. It's instantly, okay? And only people who are doing stuff like, collectibles and stuff like that, where they have the disposable income to shop by, hey, let me see what's newly listed because I just want to buy something, right? I want to see if there's something cool out there, versus people who are like, look, I just want a pair of Lane 8s. I just want a pair of work boots. I'm looking for some yoga mats. You know what I mean? They're more shopping with purpose. And people who are shopping with purpose are not going into page 4, page 5, page 6. You're pretty much going to lose them at page 2. So we need to be on page 1 in order to get rid of this item. So when you have a brand new fresh haul, right, you don't know if you already have very good organic traffic to the point where you're going to sell an item already, right? When you think of exactly how items sell, basically you need a certain amount of views before you get the sale, right? So put it this way, nobody has ever sold anything more than they've achieved views. You always have to get more views than you get sales, right? And pretty much no one's going to get one sale per view. That means like everybody who sees it immediately wants it. Like, you know, what are you selling drugs? That can't be, right? Okay, so I kid there, but the point is that when you are selling things, right? Let's say your item requires about 100 views before it sells, and you are only getting 20 views every single month because of the way your listing is set up. Well, that's going to suggest that you're probably not going to make the sale until 5 months later. 5 times 20 views, 100 views. My customer finally came around and then I sold the item, right? As opposed to if this thing was getting 100 views every single day on a different site, or you adjusted it somehow with aggressive pricing strategies and better photos and better HTML and different way of connecting with the search engagement by changing up the title more, right? Now you're getting, 50 views a day, 100 views a day, right? Now you're selling one every day or every other day versus waiting 5 months for it. Right. So the whole numbers game is going to grant, more traction based on like how many views that you get. So having that visibility is incredibly crucial, right? So if you are a reseller and it's just a one-off item, okay, and you guys are already used to sitting on stuff for a little while or whatever, then definitely in the beginning, I would recommend, let me just see if I get any organic traffic to begin with, right? If I get decent organic traffic, then maybe I don't have to give up any sponsored ads or anything like that. But then after a little while, we need an exit strategy. So what I'm teaching you guys and what I'm helping, Case Academy with today, right, is an exit strategy, okay? So when we go back to the trainers over here, we see that, look, I got 31 views in the last 24 hours. If I show you the back end over here, right, which is what we started with, the views that he only had 15 views in 30 days. I just got him 31 views in under the 24 hours by changing things up. See, what I did over here, right, is for the lane 8 traders and stuff, like I put limited edition, $150 MSRP, new, et cetera, right? So I didn't do like this whole, trying to trick people with like this markup to mark down nonsense or whatever. I just leave it that like, hey, this is what it was, and we're just going to give you a no fluff. This is the new deal right now, okay? And let's refresh this. Let's see how many views we have actually. So we got 2 extra views, right, from the time of doing this video right now. It was at 31. You just saw it increase to 33 over here. So the next one is going to be the yoga mat, right? So the yoga mat, I also did, an HTML. I did an HTML for all 3 of them, right? And if you want to see what the yoga mat looks like, let me see. Can we F12 over here? And then we scroll down a little bit like this. Here we go. So Therese, zebra. So I actually even had to do a little dive for this one. And it turns out Therese actually has a pretty good following in the Pilates world. I wouldn't know. I don't do Pilates and nor am I a reseller. But the point is that I set up this one over here. So brand new, factory sealed. And remember what I said before, I didn't like it because, it wasn't like unrolled so that you could see the whole thing, and he didn't have a photo for it. So the only thing that I could highlight over here is that this mat is usually sold at $100. And then I just put the deal, MSRP $100, your price $50 on this. And then hopefully people take it as is. So what was the aggressive pricing strategy on this one, right? We put it at $50 and then 20% strategy on this one, okay? Because I'm just going to give eBay $10 to go in cahoots with them to get rid of this item, and let's just get our money back, okay? So after the free shipping, after losing 10 bucks to the, you know what I mean? I think we still can get back somewhere around like a good $25 on this, right? I don't know how much he originally paid for this. As long as he paid less than $25, then if anything, I probably made him some money as well, okay? But the point is that we want to get rid of this thing already and not have our money constantly tied up in inventory. So this was 19, right? Did I already refresh it? Right. Okay, so 21 viewed in the last 24 hours now, right? Versus before, he only had 13 views in the past 30 days for this item, okay? So yeah, guys, ultimately, I put this little, PDF, right, document for him, and then I sent it over to him, And right now he's trying to learn from this back end and the adjustments that I made, as well as some of the explanations that I gave and stuff that I've also included in this video. And he's trying to adjust his back end right now with all of his other listings to try to reflect this in order to get more views. Because the more views you get, the more chance of you're able to sell something. So yeah, guys, one last look. It was these the boots, these trainers, and this yoga mat. So let's come back up to the top. Okay, so guys, full disclosure, this is my first crack at trying to sell some reseller items, okay? I don't understand the reseller market. I wouldn't personally do reselling. I am a private labeler, and basically what I did right here, right? The actions that I took is because my worldview is completely different, because I operate in the upper echelons of what e-commerce is. So to tell me to come back and then do some reselling or whatever, I'm not going to personally do reselling, but if you showed me your reselling, listings and stuff like that, right, I'll adjust it for you the best way that I see fit. And right now we are seeing results. I think I will do a follow-up video to finally see, like, if these items eventually sold and how much that they sold for, and as well as, what was the final view count before they finally sold, you know what I mean? And I think we're going to do a shop class where I'm going to help you out specifically on doing the reselling stuff. And I believe that one is going to be just a title of Advanced Reselling, right? Version 1.5, right? Because when you think about exactly what reselling is, it is level 1 of e-commerce. And the reason why is because how did they tell you to begin? Grab some stuff from home and then just start selling. So it doesn't even get more specific, like simplistic than that, right? Once you sold a couple of items from home, what do? You go out to a thrift store or like a discount store, like a Savers or something, and then you get more stuff and then you sell those things. You're not importing anything. You're not dealing with any manufacturers or whatever. So the complexity is down to a minimum. You're just doing something yourself with a couple of bucks in your pocket, right? A lot of times these reseller gurus are going to say like, hey, reselling absolutely works. It does absolutely work, but I feel as if like that's not the main question that we should be asking. The main question is not about whether or not reselling is functional, but rather is reselling optimal, okay? So we're going to do a shop class Sunday where I'm going to take all of the business structures and strategies from private labeling and apply it to reselling so that I can cut the fat and try to buff up like exactly what reselling is so that, it becomes a little bit more efficient. But make no mistake, ultimately at the end of the day, reselling is still an incredibly fatty piece of meat that is very, very inefficient, and it needs a lot of rework. If anything, it requires you to level up in order to get all of the kinks and all of the issues out of what reselling is into a proper legitimate business. Anyways, guys, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. And if you learned something, please consider subscribing. As always, I'll see you guys in the next. Take care.